Hey guys, so welcome back to another Comfy Cozy Up vlog. So, it's a couple of stuff I want to talk about. So we're gonna start off by, I did finish this. This was very good. This is Nadia Osu. It's a memoir. It's called Aftershocks. So when you think of aftershock, think of the aftermath of an earthquake. It's something that happened that is triggering, and the aftermath of what she's dealing with. This felt like a lot of history she was giving us because she was exposed to a lot of things because of her father's job. He was a diplomat and he was always away in some country in Africa and in Europe. So she has a lot of memory of living in different countries in Africa as well as in the UK, and as far as her root, where she belonged, that kind of deal is something that she's always struggled with because she's also biracial. Her mom is, well, I forgot what country her mom is from again. Her mom is European, but she was raised in Boston, but she has that look that sometimes people automatically know she's biracial but also question her roots. I enjoy this for the fact that how open she is about her grieving, her relationship with her parents, her mental health, her sexuality, her willingness to forgive and struggle as well to forgive at times. And these bits of pieces of things about her past and how much it influenced her present and how she's navigating through it. So this is the memoir that you see the person struggle, but you also like the honesty of it. She's very transparent in this in terms of how she is aware of her faults or issues. But again, the history in this made it interesting. The way she talks about different culture, different things that's happening in different culture, and the timestamp on it is very interesting. So I would definitely recommend it. I do see why it was on, I think this was on the Obama's book list, I think. But I can see why a lot of people were like, this is a good memoir. It really was. I felt like I was in a history lesson. So yeah. So we are up to 95, y'all. So I'm gonna pick this up, start this one, and also I did the other story I didn't pick up yet. I didn't pick back up yet. So I want to talk about books that had felt over the top, but the message in their work, and you get to gravitate to the story in a way that you enjoy it, even though at first it just comes off like boom, over the top. So I'm gonna start by, back in March I read This Close to Okay. This was a book that started off very weird to me. You know, we're talking about a licensed therapist who is putting herself in a position of saving a man who doesn't even know her identity, a man who is grieving, a man who is struggling with life. And how it started, I was just like, oh, what the heck am I reading? I was very much that person. But as the story continues, there's something about how the author delivered a message that made the story good, that made the story very important, because of sometimes things happen, sometimes bizarre things happen in your life, sometimes unexpected things happen in your life, and it might not make sense at first, but it has its purpose. And I think how things happen, she had a purpose. And not only that, the author was very responsible in terms of talking about mental health in a way that is continuous, that is not something that's a quick fix. That is the one of the character in here has to deal with this constantly for many years, and there are going to be ups and down as with the as his healing comes up, but they may never be the same again because of what the tragedy that caused, that triggered all of the mental health issue. So I thought that was a really, really good one. Then we also have, I call this the escape, the great escape. That's the best way I'm gonna put it, and that is Eileen. So Eileen is oh, oh, it is a woman who's now in her up there in age. I think she might be around 70 something, and she is talking about her life, and you know something happened, but what you do know is she wanted to get away, and she was living with her alcoholic father, and she wanted to get away but didn't know how to get away. In this story, you get in the mental distress of a character who is lost, who's trying to find himself, who wants to get away from their surrounding, their circumstance, but also very gullible and easily influenced, and how people can manipulate a person like that. So this one, you just felt like she was just crazy. And then, but as a story goes, I thought the author did a really clever thing of talking about it in a way that maybe normal people might not have that kind of situation to escape from, how it's written, but the whole idea of you wanted to escape, you wanted to finally pack your bag and move on and try something different in life, and there's always something that's preventing you. It could be someone, it could be even your own self preventing you from doing it. And when you finally do it, sometimes it takes something dramatic and sometimes something really bad for you to actually make that move, versus when you had the opportunity to do it. That's another one for this one. And this one was, yeah, this one was crazy. Then there's also Remembrance, and I've read this back in January. This is the first book I've read this year, and I remember in this book thinking like the burden of carrying the responsibility for others. And you have a character who was chosen, and this is more this book is more, I would say, magical realism. And she created this protection around this land to protect slaves, and but she is a flawed character. She has her issues, and as she's doing all of this, something broke. The burden of everything and what she's experiencing, something broke the protection and allowed danger in. And you are following 4 women in this book, and each has their purpose, each has their role. Some don't know their role, don't know their purpose, but they're learning. And it's a story that really has this strong bond with women, and showing women who are strong and are also flawed, but working through it, and still has that great purpose in life, no matter how the flaws might be problematic in protecting themselves and others. So I thought this was a really good one. Then we also have, I would say, let's see what else I want to give you guys. That and then this one is a wild one. It's a wild one because the title was not attractive at all, and that is the Secret Lives of 4 Wives. I think it's called Baba Sage. That's another title for the same book. And what I liked about this is you have 4 women, and this man who is constantly introducing new wives, and the whole idea of multiply, having a large family. And there is a secret amongst the wife, and then when the 4th wife come along, secrets are now in jeopardy, and these women are basically trying to drive this woman crazy. What I did like about this in the story is more of when how it talks about escape, and how sometimes you can you have 2 options. It's sometimes both options are not great, but one might keep you alive and have you be able to somewhat somewhat live a life that you feel like you can endure, you feel like you can be okay with. And this is what you get in these, because the choices the women have to make, some of the women were pretty negative and bad, that none of them were the greatest, but the situation they were living in was better than what they came from. And this is how I thought where the fourth wife and her struggles and what she discovered and what she wanted for herself and what she's seeing. And it shows that sometimes you have to sacrifice a part of you, and but then also know that it's temporary. It's that whole idea that you can get through this, and there's always a possibility of something else on the other side if you can just endure this, that kind of deal. And there's a lot of women who endure this. They, this can mean a lot of different things, and they endure it as long as they possibly can. But there's always that idea that something else is on the other side. But it is also entertaining in a lot of ways, and I'm glad it went that route, because that kind of marriage setup can leave a bitter taste in your mouth, and this author did a really good job of not doing that to the story, and you can actually enjoy this book. Another one that I thought was interesting, that also could have easily, I did the shake my head a few times when I started this, and that's Mr. Loverman. Mr. Loverman is a storyline that about secrets. You just imagine 50 years of a charade, of pretending, of not living your truth, and finally it is out. But the way the author wrote it, it makes it an even playing field. I feel that's the best way I could put it, because it wasn't just one person who's not living their truth. And so it became a more of the author showing that yes, one situation is a bit the worst, because it's a person full on having a relationship on the side for many years because they couldn't live their truth, and the other one accepting certain things because that's what Christianity, their belief told them that they must do in order to be a good wife, a good person, a good, And so I thought this was another interesting story that depends on who reads it, depends on your belief, but depends on your views on the subject. You might take it a different way, but I thought she did a good job on telling the story that literally could have left a really bitter taste in my mouth. But I was entertained, but I was also enlightened on the possibility of how much of that probably happened, especially amongst Caribbean people, because these are Caribbean people, and that is still a heavy subject to talk about in the Caribbean to this day. And just imagine those kind of individuals who are senior citizens, and the life that they lived and maintained for many decades, because they couldn't live their truth. They couldn't be who they really are. So that was an interesting one, and I definitely was quite, entertained. And then the last one I'm going to leave with is the one that I felt was just a wild card. It's just a wild card, and that is Papa Show. I laughed so much about this book, it's not even funny. It is another one that is magical realism, has fantasy and all that elements that is not my kind of book to read. But I was very entertained on how the author took bits and pieces of things, or stereotypes and things that are traditional in the Caribbean, and put in these characters and have them play a role that is very much, even though it is over the top, you can still see characters that are real life characters in this. But she did went as far as putting some stuff in as far as women role, and still showed that it's even in a fantasy world, it is complicated and it's still an issue of control of the body, control of our women parts, you know. And there's a particular part that to this day have me cracking up, and I think about all of that in the story and how she wrote it. It's very interesting, but it's hilarious. This is one of those books that sometimes I can't even take it seriously because I'm laughing so hard. But I am very much entertained by it, and I'm so glad I was able to you know, read that one. And so yeah, I'm just like looking, because you know, I read a lot about this year, but these are the ones that I want to focus on as far as this, because there's other categories that I want to talk about the other ones with. But yeah, so let me know, like, what kind of book that was just not your typical read. It was a little bit out of your element, but you find that you like the book a lot and you like the message in the book, and it was memorable. It was something that you could still see yourself rereading again, that kind of deal. Let me know. I love this kind of video because typically you always gravitate to your that same kind of genre you love. But sometimes when you get out of your element, you read things that are completely different. You find that you get a lot from it, and also you remember it more than the typical genre that you really gravitate to on the regular. So these are books that I definitely won't forget and definitely will recommend reading for various reasons. But check it out. I will leave a detail in the description of the reviews I did, because I did a review for all of these books that I'm mentioning, and so you can get a better idea of the book versus me just giving you a snippet of it. And yeah, so alright guys, see you tomorrow in another one. Bye.